Hey guys, welcome to this gentle yoga flow. We're going to begin on the floor. Our eyes will be closed. We can cross our legs or have them out in front of us, whatever is more comfortable for you. You can have your hands facing up to receive or down on your knees to ground. We're going to begin by slowing down our breath and really paying attention to each inhale and each exhale, slowing everything down. I'll give you about 20 seconds now to just relax and focus solely on your breath. I'll mind the time. We'll take our last few breaths here and begin our flow. Stretch your arms straight out in front of you and up to the ceiling. Bend at your elbows for a cactus pose, really squeezing back your back muscles, and then again stretching up to the ceiling, back down to cactus. Inhale, up to the ceiling. Exhale, cactus your arms. One more stretch, raising your arms up to the ceiling. Exhaling, cactus your arms. Good. Now bring your hands down to your knees and begin to roll your shoulders out. We're going to do this for a couple seconds. Begin to roll in the opposite direction. On an inhale, bring your neck to the right and to the left, to the right, giving yourself those side neck stretches. Now let's do a few half neck circles. Give your shoulders a final shrug and maybe a little more stretches in the neck. And now we'll move into a tabletop position. Our wrists will be right under our shoulders, our knees right under our hips. Curve your spine and take a few deep breaths, just like this. Make your toes touch, spread your knees out wide, and bring your bottom down to your legs for a child's pose. We're going to use this time here to just relax, to focus again on our breaths. Good. Just a few more seconds and we'll begin to lift ourselves up back into that tabletop position. Inhale, curve your spine. Exhale, curl your spine, holding it for a few seconds. And now curve into cow pose. Curl into cat. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat. Last one, inhaling for cow. Exhale, cat. Again, we'll bring our toes to touch, knees spread out wide, bottom back, and really stretching out through that upper body. And once more, we'll rest here for a few really deep breaths. Slowly bring yourself back up into a tabletop position. Begin to lift your knees off the floor. Stretch your legs back and bring your hips back for down dog. You can bend your knees as much as you need to ensure that your back is nice and straight. Take one last breath here and then begin to slowly walk your feet forward up to your hands. Once your feet reach your hands, bend your knees, sweep your arms overhead. Really exaggerate that reaching out movement as you give your spine a nice stretch. Begin to hinge at your hips and bend your knees as much as you need to get your hands down to the floor. We'll rest here for a few breaths, pedaling out our knees. Interlock your arms and hold yourself at your elbows for ragdoll, swaying from side to side. Place your hands at your shins and straighten out your back. On an exhale, bend down back to the floor. Bend your knees, sweep your hands overhead. Bring your hands to heart prayer, and then bending down, back down to the floor. Pedal out your legs and bring any kind of movement that might feel good to you. You can twist your head from side to side. Bring your hands to your shins for a half raise. Bend at your knees, sweep your hands overhead. As you exhale, bring your hands to heart prayer. Bend both your knees, bring your hands down for stability, and bring your right leg back. Bring your knee down to the floor and raise your arms overhead. Untuck your back toes for crescent lunge. Take a deep, long breath here and begin to lift your knee off the floor. This is Warrior One. Turn your back toes and your body sideways, keeping that front leg straight. Hands up for Warrior Two. Bring your weight forward. Bring your left arm to the floor. Twist your torso upwards, bringing that right arm to the ceiling into side angle pose. Unwind for Warrior Two. Bring your back arm forward, both hands to the floor. Take that left leg back into a plank pose and slowly bring everything down to the floor. As you untuck your toes, use your arms to bring your chest up and forward into Cobra pose. Take a deep breath here and then curl over your toes. Push your hips back into down dog. Slowly walk your feet forward to your hands, bend your knees, sweep your arms overhead. On an exhale, bring your hands to heart prayer. Hinge at the hips, bend your knees as much as you need to, and come into a folded pose. Your hands will come to your shin, straight back, and fold once more. Sweep your hands overhead, up to the ceiling, hands to heart prayer. Bring your hands down to the floor and bring your left leg back. Bring your knee down to the floor and sweep your hands overhead. Now begin to lift that knee off the floor for Warrior One. Twist your back foot and your torso to the side. Bring your arms out for Warrior Two. Lift your weight forward. Bring your right hand down to the floor, left hand up to the ceiling for side angle pose. Untwist and come up to Warrior Two. Bring that back arm forward, both hands to the floor. Feet back into plank pose. Slowly come back down. Use your arms to bring yourself up into Cobra. Inhale. Exhale, come into down dog. Walk your feet forward. Bend your knees, sweep your hands overhead. On an exhale, bring your hands to heart center and then come down. Hands to the floor, bend your knees as much as you need. With your knees bent, sweep your arms overhead and bring your arms to heart prayer. Come all the way down. Hands to the floor, then bring your hands to your shins, straighten out your back. Exhale, release back to the floor. Bend your knees, sweep your arms overhead. On an exhale, cactus your arms. Inhale, raise up. Exhale, cactus. Inhale, raise up. Exhale, cactus. Bring your hands down to the floor and this time hop your legs back into a plank pose. And now slowly come down. Bring yourself up with your arms into Cobra and then into down dog. Begin to raise your left leg up for three-legged dog. Now tuck your left knee into your chest and bring it forward into a Warrior One. On an exhale, come into Warrior Two. Inhale, side angle pose. Exhale, come into Warrior Two. Now sweep your arms forward, leg back, come down to the floor, and push yourself up into Cobra. On an inhale, curl up into down dog. Exhale, raise your right leg. Inhale, tuck your knee forward and come into Warrior One. As you exhale, come into Warrior Two. Take a deep inhale into side angle pose. Exhale, Warrior Two. Bring your hands down to the floor, bring your leg back, come into plank, slowly come down, and then push up into Cobra. On an exhale, come into down dog. We'll move through this flow one more time, creating one breath for each movement. Raise your left leg, Bring it forward for Warrior One. Come into Warrior Two. Lean forward for side angle pose. Warrior Two, windmill your back arm. Coming down, plank pose, into Cobra. Curl over your toes into Down Dog. Now raise your right leg and tuck it in, bringing it forward, Warrior One. Come into Warrior Two, then lean forward, side angle pose. Untwist Warrior Two, bring your arm forward, leg back, come down into Cobra. Come into a child's pose with your knees spread out wide. We'll rest here for a few breaths. Slowly bring yourself up into a tabletop position, and we'll start a little fire in our bellies by raising one leg with opposite arm and bringing elbow and knees to touch. Inhale, extend out. Exhale, bring your elbow and knee to touch. Inhale, extend. Exhale, bring them to touch. Exhale, extend. One more, bring them to touch. Great work. Let's do over the other side. Extend opposite knee to elbow and make them touch. Extend, bring them to touch. Extend, bring them to touch. Extend, bring them to touch. Do a couple more on your own count. Good. Now come back into your tabletop. Begin to lift your knees off the floor. Bring your hips back, legs back, into Down Dog. Now slowly walk your feet forward to your hands. Bend your knees, sweep your hands overhead. Now bring them into Heart's Prayer. Take a few seconds here to reconnect with your breath, paying attention to how you breathe in and how you breathe out. Now let's begin our balancing poses by taking our right leg, crossing it over our left. Extend both arms out in front of you, and then take your left arm, and you're going to bring it under your right, turning and curling around. This is called Eagle pose. The palms of your hands should be touching, but if they're not, that's okay. Feel free to stay here if you'd like, but if you'd like a little bit more of a challenge, lift that left foot off the floor and wrap it around your right leg. Great. Begin to untwist your feet and your arms. Extend your arms out to the side and then back down. This time we'll take our left toes, turn them around our right toes, and cross your right arm under your left arm and twist. Again, feel free to stay here, take some deep breaths, but if you'd like more of a challenge, lift the front toes off the floor, wrap them around your right leg. Slowly begin to untwist everything, bringing your arms to the side. Now bring your hands to Heart Prayer and begin to lift your right heel off the floor, resting it right above your left ankle. This is called Tree Pose, and you can stay here if you would like. But if you'd like a little bit more of a challenge, you can begin to raise that right foot up from your calves into your inner thigh, all the way to the very top. Just trying to challenge your balance here. Great job, guys. Begin to bring that foot down to the floor, and now let's do the other side. Again, stay here if you would like, focusing on your breath, or challenge yourself by bringing that foot up. Last breath here, and bring your foot down to the floor. Now sweep your arms overhead, and then slowly come down, having them touch the floor. Bend your knees as much as you need to, and we'll begin pedaling out our knees. Just slowly, one by one. Now bring your hands to your shins and straighten out your back. Bring them back to the floor, And now bend your knees, sweep your arms overhead. Bring your hands to heart prayer, and now come down. Bring your hands to the floor. Pedal out your legs. You shift your upper body from side to side. Bend your knees, lift your arms overhead. Inhale, exhale, release, come down to the floor again. Hands to your shins, straighten out your back, and release. Bend your knees, sweep your hands overhead, and now we will begin to extend our right leg behind us, coming into a wide stance. Feel free to give your neck a little stretch here, and then bring your hands to your hips and slowly bend, unhinge right at the hips, and bend your upper body down to the floor. Feel free to hang here for a few breaths, and you can also invite movement into your side hips by stretching one leg out and then the other side. Now bring your hands down to the floor, and you can hold here if it feels comfortable, or bring your hands to your ankle for an added stretch, and we're going to hold this inverted triangle for a few more breaths. Bring your hands down to the floor if they're not already there, and raise your upper body off the floor for a halfway lift, and then bring it back down. Invite any kind of movement that feels good for you, perhaps just swaying from side to side. Now begin lifting your upper body halfway up, put your hands on your hips, and slowly rise to standing. Turn your toes towards the left. Bring your right hand down into a runner's lunge position. Feel free to bring your knee down as well. We're going to hold this for a few breaths now and take any variation that feels comfortable for you. You can raise your knee off the floor or bring your elbows down to the floor. With your right knee down on the floor, extend your hips back and extend that front leg for a half split. Push your hips forward back into your runner's lunge, and then bring that left leg back into a plank pose. Now slowly bring your right leg forward for a runner's lunge, and feel free to bring that left knee down. Again, take any variation that feels good for you. Even maybe try to challenge yourself. It's always fun to see what your body can do. Now bring your left knee down to the floor, push your hips back, extend the right leg for a half split. Push your hips forward back into that runner's lunge and bring that right leg back into plank pose. Slowly come down onto your belly, using your hands and arms to pull yourself up into cobra. Take a deep breath here. Bring your toes to touch, widen your knees, bring your hips back, bring your head down for child's pose. Bring yourself up, straighten out your legs for plank pose, and slowly come down to the floor. Place your forearms flat beside you and bring your chest up for Sphinx pose. Take a few deep breaths here as you feel that relaxing stretch in your lower back. On your exhale, come down to one side and completely let go and relax. One last breath here, and bring yourself up with your forearms for Sphinx pose. Now come down on your opposite side, and again completely let go and relax. Come up for your final Sphinx pose. Keeping your knees and your hands where they are, bring your hips back, chest down for puppy pose. Taking a few deep breaths here, completely relaxing into the pose. Slowly come up, bringing yourself into a tabletop position. And now come to sitting and take your time coming into a lying pose. Place your ankles right underneath your knees and bring your hips up for bridge pose. You have the option to interlock your arms here or just hold them at the side. Now bring your hips down for about 2 breaths. And now bring them up again. Bring your hips down. And bring them back up. Bring your hips back down. Feel free to stretch your arms overhead. And now we're going to bring our knee to our chest and hold it with interlocking fingers. Slowly begin to cross your leg across your body for a supine twist. Readjust your hips, stretch out your right arm, whatever feels comfortable to make this feel good. Come back to center and begin raising your left knee to your chest. Using your right hand, guide that leg across your body for a supine twist. Come back to center and now bring both knees to your chest, interlocking your arms around them, giving yourself a really nice squeeze, taking a moment of gratitude for your body and for everything that it does for you. Let your knees go, stretch your body out, and now we're going to get ready for Shavasana. Shavasana is a complete resting pose in yoga. We're going to just lie down, make sure your shoulder blades are nice and close together. Begin to notice your breath once more, really slowing it down, slowing everything down. This time now is just for you. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Feel free to stay in this pose for as long as you would like. There is no rush. I wish you guys the best for today and always.